Okay, welcome everyone. We want to thank Richard again for the plexiglass cover for the Amid, keeping our shul in good shape. Thank you very much. Also, Rebbe Bram, it's nice to have you. It really is. It really is. You should know that when you're not here, I miss you. We're holding in the fourth parak, Mishna Daled, and we learn, sponsored by the Fisher family, Lila Nishma Spasia Bas Rabit, Shlomo ben Avram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruvain. We also learn Nishma David ben Chaim, L'Refuah Shlema for Yom and Moshe ben Chai Sarah, Yaakov ben Basia Leah, Schus of Avram and Yom ben Nishma Malki Hudis, by your Klugman and family, and L'Refuah Shlema for Moshe Meir ben Esther Fadel, for Avigdor Aye ben Rivka, Hinda bas Chai Sarah, Rivka bas Shiva Leah, and Meir ben Chai Sarah. They should have a L'Refuah Shlema b'Sar Shechel Yisrael. Again, we fool around with all of these cameras and these gadgets. I was davening in Klosenberg yesterday, and a man comes over to me, and he kisses me, and kisses my hand, and he says to me, "I'm a Talmud from Antwerp." He says he listens to the shiurim all the time from Antwerp. So these cameras and the phone have a very long reach. So here, remember that Pirkei Avos is the ethical teachings from Sinai. Now, there's a lot of things that are not good midos, whether it's being greedy, whether it's being stingy, whether it's being lazy, whether it's being angry, whether it's being jealous, whether it's being self-centered. Nowhere in this Masechta does it say ma'oid ma'oid, except here. Rabbi Levitas Ish Yavne, a leader from Yavne, Aimer ma'oid ma'oid heve shval ruach. Very, very be humble of spirit. Very, very. In other words, if, let's say, sometime you got upset a little bit with some hurt pride. So you say, you're supposed to be humble. Yeah, but you're supposed to be very humble. Yeah, but. You say, but you're supposed to be very, very humble. Okay, that does it. You're supposed to be very, very humble. No, the only thing it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu had such sterling qualities that Moshe Rabbeinu, this week's parsha, Ish Moshe Anav Ma'od Mikol Adam. That's what. Shetikvos Enesh Rima, because what does a person have to look forward to? There's going to be worms. So, don't take yourself so seriously. You're going to be a pot of worms. Rabbi Yechon ben Braika Aimer, Kol HaMechalel Shem Shemayim B'Seiser, whoever desecrates the name of heaven in secret. Now, to most of us, that sounds like a oxymoron, a paradox. Chil Hashem is to desecrate Hashem publicly, and then it says B'Seiser, in secret. But the idea is, if a person does something and he says, nobody sees me, I can do this because nobody sees me, that's Chil Hashem. What do you mean nobody sees you? Hashem sees you. He's going to be punished in public. Now, when it comes to Chil Hashem, this is one area that doesn't brook a mistake. There's certain things that you can't afford to say, I made a mistake. Like, for example, a nurse in the hospital, she can't say, oops, I made a mistake. I thought it said 5 instead of 0.5. Can't make a mistake. Thought it says 5 instead of 0.5. You're going to send a person to the morgue with such a mistake. So we can't afford making mistakes when it comes to Chilul Hashem. Echad shoygeg ve'echad mezid b'Chilul Hashem. Whether it's unwitting or willful, there's liability, not the same. Of course, it's not the same. But there's liability for desecrating Hashem. Now, there are many reasons why a person could learn Torah. It says, Adam la'amal yulad. La'amal means to toil. So they say that la'amal is an acronym of Lilmoid al Manas Lalamed, and it's also an acronym of Lilmoid al Manas Lases. B'shmal b'nai aimer haloimed al Manas Lalamed. When one learns in order to teach, he wants to share his knowledge with others. He wants to be mezaka people with the big mitzvah of learning Torah. Ma'aspikim biyadei lilmoid lalamed. Hashem will enable him to learn and to teach. Va'aloimed al manas lases. One who learns in order to do, wants to know what to do. Ma'aspikim biyadei lilmoid lalamed lishma v'lases. That Hashem will enable him to learn, to teach. Lishmar means to heed the negative prohibitions, and lasais means to do the positive commandments. Reb Tzadok Aimer, al tasem atorah liskadol b'hem. Do not use the Torah as a crown to elevate yourself. In other words, don't learn that they should call you Rebbe. Now, it's true that it says that mitoich lishma lishma, that even if you have to learn shaloi lishma, that brings to lishma. In the yeshiva of Staten Island, if a boy got an 85 average on all of the Bekias tests, then at the end of the year, he was given a sefer from Rav Moshe, an inscribed sefer. He was given a $150 check, which was a big thing in those days. And even more, he was honored by the annual Malava Malka, where all the parents were there, where Rav Moshe was, where all the Rebbeim were. So that's a incentive of Shaloi Lishma. But as long as a person doesn't learn Lekanter, if a person learns Lekanter, in other words, to knock down people, that is mutav shiyapach shilyoy l'soichai. It would be better that the fetus take a U-turn and go back into the womb, which means it would be better to go back to the learning by the Malach. At least that didn't cause any problems for anybody. And v'loy kardem lachbar b'hem. Don't use it as an axe to dig with. In other words, don't use it as a means of finances. Now, the Kesef Mishna in great detail says that a person could be paid for learning. However, that shouldn't be the reason why you learn. There was a time where Rabbanim didn't take money. There was a time that the Rabbanim, they gave the Rav a monopoly. Like Rav Moshe, in Luban, the Rebbetzin had a monopoly on yeast and on candles. And that's how they made a parnasa. So Rishiva wasn't paid for his learning. By the Svardim, the Chacham had also a profession. Didn't take money for the learning. The Maisa is, this is why there was a practice to pay for services. A wedding, a funeral, mechiras chametz. So this way the payment wasn't directly for learning. L'maisa is, the minig is, in almost kol tfutzas Yisrael, that we do pay a Rava salary. But we know that we pay a doctor a salary too. You'll say, wait a second, how could you pay a doctor a salary? It's Hashavas Aveda. How can you pay a doctor a salary? Not allowed to charge for Hashavas Aveda. The answer is there's something called schar bittul that you could give to compensate for what the person could have been doing. Now, in the case of a doctor could have been doing it to a guy. Could have been doing the same procedure to a guy. So he could charge because at that time he could have been doing it with a guy. So if a rabbi has ability to make money in different ways, so that there is a schar bittul, so that's one of the loopholes of paying a rabbi. As I said, another thing is that you pay for services which boomerangs, because people say, oh, look what the rabbi charges for a levaya. Look what the rabbi charges for a wedding. Look what the rabbi charges for mechiras chametz. Actually, it's to get around this question of v'lo kardam lachbar b'hem. But you don't really need it because of schar bittul. The kacho yehil aloymer u'de ishtamesh b'soga chalaf. One who utilizes the crown of Torah will pass on. Holamadata, from this we learn that kol hanena medivrei Torah, whoever benefits from the words of Torah, noitel chayav min ha'olam. God forbid, his life could be taken out of this world. I just want to say that tonight, after the daf, we will be doing a chok. So we haven't done a chok in a while, and everybody is welcome to that as well. And Chananya ben Akasha Amaratza Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael L'Pikachei B'Lem Torah Mitzvos Shenem Adinai Chafetz Man Sitka Yad L'Torah V'Yadeh.